Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, another talking head variety of videos, and this time it's about the philosophical survival question of should I bug in or should I bug out? Should I stay or should I go? I'm doing this video because I saw yet again that question being brought up in a forum, and I see it often. Which should you do, bugging it or should you bug out? As if I find it funny to a degree because it sounds as if you have an option. Should I wear a red t-shirt or should I wear a black t-shirt? Should I buy an AK or should I buy an AR-15? The thing is this, guys, when it happens and you're forced to leave your location, you don't have an option anymore. So it's not a matter of what is it that you want to do. It's a matter of the reality of the circumstances in which you're involved in. All right. Suppose you have you're in your house, you have a disaster heading your way, or all of a sudden your house burns down and you have to leave. You don't have an option, you just have to leave. Your house is burning down and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. You have lost your home and you have to leave so as to save your life and the lives of your family. If you're in an area that is suffering a natural disaster and it's all flooded, or there's a wildfire coming your way, you are forced to leave your house. So the right answer to that is pretty simple. You stay in your home, in your shelter, your well-known location, your environment, with your network of people, neighbors and such, with your gear, your supplies. You stay there until you can no longer do that anymore, right? So it's not about deciding on say, okay, should I? Maybe the best question would be, when do you have to bug out? That would be a more interesting question, and that question quickly takes us to that. You stay put in your house, in your shelter, defendable with your supplies and all that, unless you don't have that option anymore. Disasters, industrial disasters of some kind that's forcing you out of there. Maybe problems in terms of social, political problems of a greater scale, war, civil war. For example, something like what's happening now in Syria, I would have left. Of course, I would have left long ago when I saw that coming my way. In that case, that's a clear example of you being better off if you leave. And I always make reference to history. Learn from history, guys. It's there for something. It's not just to have books piling dust in shelves. And if you look at different cases where there was civil war or problems and people have left their countries to live in better, safer places. And if I look at my own case, I left Argentina because it was no longer safe. Economically speaking and socially speaking, it's a mess. Politically speaking, it's a place where crime is not being dealt with at all. It's not in the agenda at all, and it's out of proportions. So that would be another good example in which you may decide to leave, and that's a good point of deciding when. All right, maybe you have a wildfire heading your way, and it's being advised to people to leave. Okay, you leave. You have a hurricane or a huge storm heading your way. You may decide to leave if your house is ready for that and prepare for that. It is a bit more complicated for example, for what I did in myself when I decided to leave. That's a little bit more tricky because you plan to leave just in case things start going down, breaking down faster than expected. But at least in my case, and this is something that everyone should do. Everyone should have plans to leave immediately if the situation demands it. If your house burns down, you have to leave right away. Storms, disasters, anything that forces you out, you have to have those plans ahead of time. It's not, you cannot have bugging as your answer to everything because it is not. But in my case, I had plans done so as to leave immediately if I had to, but I postponed it for a long time. I postponed it until I knew that we were heading that place where maybe leaving wouldn't be an option anymore. And I did a video. No, I didn't do a video. I covered it in a post in my blog, themodernsurvivalist.com or fairfeld.blogspot.com. The links are down there, of course. And when I covered it in my blog, I used a line from a movie that says, okay, now you can't leave. That's from A Bronx Story movie. I think it's called A Bronx Story. It's with Al Pacino, I think it is, and maybe you saw it. I'm sure you did. If not, you can look it up on YouTube. It's kind of funny. It's this Italian gangsters that have a bar, and some bikers drop in, and they stay. They start making a mess, and they are asked to leave. And the bikers say, "No, we're not leaving." And the leader of the gangsters closes the door and says, now you can't leave. Now you don't have that option anymore. And they beat them up and such. But I thought that it was, in a way, it was like similar to some degree to what happens in places where authoritarian governments are taking over, which is the case of Argentina, with our president Cristina Kirchner imitating in almost everything she can to what's being done in Venezuela with Chavez. They're slowly doing things and making it harder for you to leave. So if I don't let you have a foreign currency, you will have a problem to leave. If I don't let you leave because you don't have the latest ID, which is something that they're doing right now, then I'm making it harder for you to leave. All these things are basically you've reached a point where I felt as after the re-election of Cristina Kirchner, I felt we were invited to leave. 54% of people are going along with this plan of country, with this socialist authoritarian kind of country. Now it's you that's the problem. Now it's you that should think about leaving, because you're not going along with this. You don't like this. And after that comes the moment when, okay, now you cannot leave. Now we're making it impossible or very, very hard for you to leave. So that's a little bit of the cue when you make this decision. And for many years, many of my friends in the survival and preparedness community have been telling me, you have to leave that country because it's a huge mess, it's so dangerous, and this and that. And it is true. It was very dangerous in our daily life. But at the same time, I didn't want to leave like it's suggested by so many experts in survival, because of the implications it has for your family. You can see tons of videos on bugging out, bug out this and that. Not many people actually leave like they're suggesting so often. It's much easier said than done. Leaving everything behind and just going with a backpack, we can do thousands of videos of that. I'll do my hundreds of videos on that or so, but it's different when you do it for real. If you do that, and again, guys, there's a difference between a natural disaster that forces you out of a limited area, flood, fire and such. It's a different thing when it's a political or wide-scale problem that affects the entire country. And in that case, you have to leave the country entirely. And that involves a huge bag of issues and problems to deal with, which are rarely addressed, at least not seriously so. In that case, you're basically a refugee, right? If I just grab a bag, and I did have plans for doing that, in case I had to do it, in case I had to leave the country like a refugee, just grab a bag with stuff and leave and hop on a plane or boat crossing to Uruguay or whatever. But in that case, you're a refugee, and the scars it's going to be leaving on your family are significant, and it's not something that I would recommend people doing unless they don't have an option. In my case, I was pretty well set in Argentina. I had good resources and friends and a good network of support. So I basically decided to leave when it got into that point where I saw the more authoritarian socialist problem getting started after the re-election of Cristina Kirchner, which is the starting point of a modification of the Constitution, and already talks of indefinite re-election. That kind of thing. It gets creepy. So I didn't leave until that point, but I didn't want to be a refugee. I didn't want to have my family, my wife, especially my kids, suffer through that, you know. And I don't regret my decision, and it actually worked out pretty well. As you see, I'm not living under a bridge or in a tent. I'm living in a house like a normal person. The difference is huge. All right, so I want to get a little bit to that point. Start thinking of what you would do if you have to leave your house right away, fire, anything that forces you right now. But also make plans in case you have to leave, like I did, in case things start getting very, very bad. And I know you guys watch this from everywhere across the world, so it's not just, I'm not just talking to my friends in US, talking to people everywhere else as well. Maybe countries that are much more unstable than US right now. And there's a huge difference between leaving like a refugee or leaving the way I did. I managed to leave just in time when the gap, that loop was closing and becoming harder and harder, because right now they don't even let you convert your pesos to dollars or foreign currency for leaving the country. So how exactly are you supposed to do that? Right, they just, for example, if you're traveling from Argentina to US, they just give you like $100, $200. Now, if you want to go, for example, and say, okay, I want to leave Argentina, here's my 100,000 pesos I have, I want to convert this to dollars because I want to leave Argentina, you cannot do that anymore. So, you know, that window is closed. So have some of those plans made. We managed to leave in circumstances that weren't refugee level, you know, the traumatic, awful experience of leaving behind like a refugee to a place you don't even know. It wasn't exactly relocating like you would do with a company where you go to a place, a country, and take a look around. We basically ended up going here where we are now without even having set foot here before in our lives. So it was like in between like leaving like a refugee in a hurry, but not exactly like your company, your work moving you from one place to another. But the difference is huge. How is that so? Well, instead of being scarred and traumatized by the experience of leaving in a hurry with just a few suitcases, instead it was going to a very nice place with a good home, and all being very new but great at the same time, having a good time, not being uncomfortable on any level basically. And there's a huge difference, you know. My kids, they're doing great in school, straight A's and such. That's the kind of thing you achieve when you do this planning ahead of time. You don't do that just leaving with a bug-out bag thrown in the back of your truck and driving to the horizon, right? So keep that in mind. Have plans, have strategies. I've covered all this to some extent, but I'm going to be doing more and more videos on this stuff because it's not easy, and it involves lots of hours of research and learning. So there's quite a bit of stuff to learn there. But basically that's the idea, and I'm seeing these suggestions of, are you going to be bugging out when the riots start? This is a question I read in a forum. Why would you bug out when there's riots in the street? Exactly where are you going to be going? Again, being presented as a solution to something, the idea of bugging out if there's an economic collapse. Guys, you don't fix anything by bugging out of your house, your neighborhood, your state. During an economic collapse, you're still in the same country. Unless it is a huge problem on a greater scale, then you have to leave the country entirely, like I did. But bugging out of your house with your combat load and your rifle, that's not a solution for an economic crisis or even an economic collapse. That's something else. I don't know, maybe in case of foreign invasion, you will be bugging out with your rifle shooting bad guys. So if there's widespread anarchy in your neighborhood, yeah, maybe you will be putting a firearm to good use in such case. I don't know, maybe you guys are interested. I've had rioters in front of my house. I lived for many years with roadblocks on the streets and rioting breaking up because of one reason or another, protests almost on a daily basis. I suppose that not everyone has that experience. I'm telling you this, when that sort of thing starts happening, if there's just riots on the street, just stay put. If there's rioting on the street, we have days of anarchy in Argentina when the president resigned and the entire country was a complete mess. In December 2001, when it all broke down, we had anarchy on the street for quite a bit of time, and then on different spots for weeks, and eventually even months later you would see supermarkets getting looted and such. You stay put. You stay in your house. It's not just me and what I went through. I'm seeing what happens in Syria right now. It is pretty bad. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I would consider Syria, the war going on there and the killings and all that, I would consider Syria to be bad. Yet at the same time, I don't know if you see it, you see people having to go to work on the downtown district and in the capital city. You see women getting their nails done, going to a hairdresser, while just a few blocks away people are getting bombed and shelled. So if you think that you're going to be fixing anything, and if you think that it's a good idea to bug out of your house because of just some rioting on the street, really that's not the case. And one final thing, maybe don't get so caught on the images and the visual material that is presented by the media, which is very much a fact, and it is true. If there's rioting going on and they show you the Rodney King kind of thing, it's pretty visually impacting footage. But honestly, if it's rioting, a little bit of looting and such, even if it's spread all over the country like we saw it in Argentina and in most of the cities across the country, just staying put is really the best option. And one more thing, it doesn't last forever. Rodney King kind of thing, or widespread rioting and people, it's usually people that take advantage of that moment of police not being able to deal with it, because that's the truth. When rioting and anarchy and looting is spread all across the country, there's no country in the planet that can stop it from happening. There's simply not enough police force and military force to stop it from happening everywhere at the same time. It can be contained to some degree when it's focused, but when it's widespread, it's impossible to stop it. If that happens, I stay put in my house. You have a firearm. You hopefully know how to use it. That's by all means your best call, your best shots. Once all that rioting and looting and all that stuff calms down a bit, a few days later, or how long it may take, doesn't matter, then it's when you calmly decide what it is that you want to be doing. Most cases, I wouldn't leave a country unless there's really no hope, and that involves not only social problems and economic problems, it involves a political decision to make that country a mess. Now, I know many of you guys right now are screaming in your monitor, that's been already decided that they want to destroy my country, but really, especially in US, I think you will be hard-pressed finding a better country to navigate through these hard times than US, because of the general mindset that people have. And I know that there's lots of welfare mindset and such, but there's enough of like-minded people, if you want to put it some way, to be, in my opinion, in spite of the coming more problematic years that are obviously ahead of us all, I think that US is still one of your best calls. So that's basically my reply to should you bug in or should you bug out. No, I didn't show any bug out bags or anything this time, but that's basically it. Guys, if you're enjoying these videos, as I always say, consider subscribing. Take care, have a great day, and see you on our next video.